Welcome to Microdose Psychedelic Insights, powered by the Conscious Fund. This is the PsyFi series, discovering the cutting-edge science and research in psychedelic medicine.
All right. Welcome, everybody. This is another episode of the PsyFi podcast, where we talk to leading industry experts, clinicians, and scientists to unravel the mystery that is psychedelic science. Today, I have the founder of Mindleap Health, Nikolai Vassev. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nikolai.
Thanks for having me. Really excited to join the podcast.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and a little bit about Mindleap, so we can kind of understand who you are and, a little bit about, Mindleap.
Yeah, for sure. I'm based out of Vancouver, Canada, and my background has been in tech. So I spent most of my career working with large companies in the U.S., Canadian government in analyzing data. So like very complex data challenges for large organizations. And then I moved into working in cybersecurity, effectively securing data from hackers. I was really helped by psychedelics and a psilocybin experience maybe 6-7 years ago, and it was very transformative for me personally. I had fractured my tailbone and was just going through a really rough time in my life, and it was a psychedelic experience up north at a lake in Canada. Where I was really really saw the power of these medicines. And last fall, I actually went over to the Netherlands to the Synthesis Institute for a psychedelic experience and a psychedelic journey. And when I came back, I was really looking to continue things on and find a great integration specialist to work with on really integrating the visions and experiences I had in the Netherlands into positive changes in my life. When I came back to Canada, it was really hard to really find a great specialist to work with. And I really wanted to be a part of this budding industry. And I got together with one of our systems engineers from a previous company, and we decided to start Mindleap in a way where we can improve access to this type of treatment, and also provide really good data-driven insights into mental health for individuals using the Mindleap app, and also allowing those individuals to actually share that with their specialists, providing a lot more context and a lot more details as to the progress that people are making in changing their lives.
That's super fascinating, man. Yeah, the evolution of digital therapeutics in the space has been really interesting to watch, and is a really important element, I think, to psychedelic therapy, overall. And you guys are doing some really fascinating things on that front. I'd love if you could talk just a little bit more about that and your digital platform, and what that, how that will benefit both the patient and the therapist when they get psychedelic therapy.
Yeah, so it really is, integration is one of the most important facets of successful outcomes with psychedelics. What really, a lot of people have tried psychedelics and haven't really had much progress, from a personal development perspective, and really finding someone that you can trust, someone who's an experienced mental health professional, can really be a game changer for the psychedelic experience. And right now on Mindleap, we have over 30, incredible people that've been doing this type of work for decades, whether underground, whether from a research and academic perspective. A lot of them have masters of psychology. Many of them are therapists. So it really provides a community of individuals that you can access, right from your phone, anytime. So what's really unique about Mindleap is right now it's free. You can go on the App Store. It's on Android and iOS. Download the app, and you can begin really tracking the important factors of your mental health. So when you first download the app, you're going to be able to set your goals. So really think hard about what you're looking to achieve. Then it moves into setting your habits as to the things that we do daily are really what create our lives. And if you are serious about making changes, a lot of the times is making little shifts as to what you eat, or how much you sleep, or spending time with family, or exercise, or whatever your personal goals are. In terms of the habits that you have, you can set those in Mindleap and track them on a daily basis. We also incorporate the ability to track your emotions. So we're tracking positive emotions, negative emotions, as well as the daily mood. We just launched on September 30th. We've had a lot of great feedback with the first version. We're currently in development of some more advanced mental health tracking, where you can actually get really good insights. In this first iteration of Mindleap, we are allowing, we've built the capabilities to be able to track that data, but in the next version, we'll be able to actually have more insights coming out of that information. And then Mindleap's fully secure, HIPAA compliant. It ensures full privacy, security, and confidentiality for everybody on the platform. And whenever a person is ready to begin working with an integration specialist, they're able to find one on Mindleap, take a peek at their calendar, figure out how much the session will cost, and then directly schedule a session on the platform to be able to begin working on their integration.
That's really awesome, man. There's a really big need, especially right now in this space, for there to be a seamless digital integration and all these resources accessible to people electronically, especially with how uncertain things are now with the pandemic. I think it's really amazing that you guys are offering such a robust digital platform for people to connect, and for information to be stored, and for us to be able to apply our really powerful understanding of analytics and data to our mental health and our mental well-being. We're really good at applying it to making more money and these other aspects of industry and society, and I think it's good now that we're, people like you are taking the charge forward to apply what we know now to bettering ourselves and our mental health, because that's so important at a time like right now more than ever before. So I think that's really cool that you guys are, working on that.
Thanks, I appreciate that. And yeah, it is, it's definitely an unprecedented time, and people are going through such, I mean, we can see the racial divide and the economic devastation that so many people are going through, the isolation. I feel like, good thing that this happened in 2020, because I think if it happened before the internet, I mean, it would have been, even more devastating. And I feel like, the pandemic has really increase the usage of telemedicine, and people are more comfortable in accessing care in this manner. And I feel like, at least for millennials, we're so accustomed to being on our phone all the time. But, the question is, like, what do you spend your time on? And are you ready to take the plunge to actually go through and work with a specialist? It's great to see, all the amazing researchers and activists, dedicating their lives to this. And, it's going to be a incredible next few years of healing, people that, are in trouble, and people that, really need the support.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. It's coming at a really critical precipice in our collective evolution, for this to be happening right now. And it's so important for more people to have access to these therapies, and the therapists and the clinicians. So are you guys looking forward, in the future to expand what you're doing? Are you guys looking to, I mean, obviously since it's digital, you want to offer these resources to people around the world, I imagine, so what are just some of the future projections and what you're looking forward to, at Mindleap and the industry at large?
Yeah, for sure. We're building out our partner program, so we'd like to offer, each person that actually goes through a legal psychedelic experience, the ability to be able to continue that relationship with their guide or with the clinician that they've been working with, to be able to really access them on Mindleap on demand, to continue that healing process. So one of our big focuses is partnering up with different psychedelic organizations to be able to, educate people, that they can access this support, through our application. And then the other major thing is, there is the financial situation, that a lot of people are experiencing, and a lot of the times the one-on-one support, can be unaffordable for some people. And we're currently developing several different self-paced programs. We're calling them the digital transformation programs, where, let's say you do go through a psychedelic experience, you'll be able to actually go through a 30-day program with a leading integration specialist, where, you would listen to it daily and actually take actions and to be able to improve yourself. So it's a more self-paced approach. And we're not only doing this for integration, we have another program that's more based on spiritual healing, a program based on addiction. We've partnered up with a leading meditation company called Bright Mind Meditation, where we'll be developing some custom meditation content that will also be available on Mindleap. We have a free
the experience into their lives in a practical and meaningful way afterwards. All of these things, and also the focus that the digital platform has on healthy eating and meditation and sleep and emotional well-being. Like, these are all tied together into wellness, and psychedelic medicine is such a key player in all of this. So it's really cool that you guys are taking a very holistic approach to everything, and I really commend you guys for that. I think it'd be really cool for you. I know you talked about how psychedelics have really impacted your life, and it's been interesting producing this podcast, because I've heard that a few times now from people in this industry. So it's always interesting to ask them, do you feel that people that are pioneering the charge in this industry, that there's a lot for them to be gained, and that maybe people that are in the business of psychedelics should be taking psychedelics too, or should at least have one experience? I know some people in the industry have never tried psychedelics before, and there are people that have opinions about that, so I'm curious what you think.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think, I mean, you to truly believe and fight for something, you really need to understand it. Mm-hmm. And I feel that, and I saw this a little bit in the cannabis industry, where, you have all these suits and all these, investment bankers and, lawyers that are, running. Obviously we need to have the business in there, but they've never smoked weed, and they've never, they don't believe in CBD, they believe in the profits. And I feel like, everyone, from our team, has experienced psychedelics, is super passionate about the mission. And I mean, we wouldn't be doing this otherwise. But I feel like the advent of microdosing is really incredible, just in terms of enhancing your cognitive process, elevating your mood, increasing your productivity, decreasing your stress and anxiety. I mean, I've been microdosing it's been like maybe 2 years now. And I feel like it's definitely affected my life, and I feel like is a good kind of cognitive advantage that microdosers might have. And when it comes down to a bigger dose type experience, I mean, it's really hard to move things forward when you don't really understand really the power of it. And I feel like a lot of these experiences also create they change you. especially with ego dissolution, in being more purpose driven and understanding that, we're all part, of the same humanity, and looking out for your fellow brothers. It is something that, psychedelics do bring, where you can, I've had experience where I've realized, how, short life is, and also how, how we're a part of a bigger picture of this bigger universe, and how, to be truly fulfilled, you have to, contribute to others, and be a part of the whole. And I feel that, as long as, the industry evolves, I really hope that, it stays on that. And there is that, that it really doesn't impair the further development when we move into, patents and finances and all these things, where, we don't want to forget about, the people, and the reason everybody, the reason you're doing it is to help people.
Right.
And, hopefully it stays like that. But, like in all industries, there's different players and different types of motivations. Let's just say that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think a really important point that you highlighted is the need for, this industry to be extra mindful of things like corporate social responsibility, and what values are really important to integrate from the psychedelic process into the business of all of this. For how unique the psychedelic experience is for everybody, it's so interesting that there's some fundamental commonalities, like these feelings of unity and connectedness to each other and our environment, and the world, and so I think we have a lot to learn from cannabis, for sure. The compassionate use acts that have come and that states have implemented, for example, for patients to be able to, use cannabis in a way that's meant to benefit the patients. And it's a very different model for psychedelics, since it's medicalized and going to be clinical. But I think you bring up a really good point, that the crux of our intention needs to remain compassionate, and it's for the benefit of people's mental well-being and people's mental health. So what are some things you think the industry at large can be doing right now to promote that in their business practices? How can we be more mindful and more conscious about the way that we approach this industry?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think collaboration can be something that, would be really helpful. And we are seeing that, a lot. There's a lot of collaboration between academics, and a lot of collaboration between different companies. And I think, continuing, that, the spirit, of teamwork, even if you might be in different organizations, just really being focused on how do we create more value for more people. And, that is being done, and a lot of organizations are doing that. And, I feel like that's going to help, the broader psychedelic industry, reap the benefits of that. And at the same time, just really being mindful of, the pioneers of the industry, and still supporting, causes, like MAPS and Decriminalize Nature and Theracil, in taking some of the profits that come in, with, the success that will inevitably come, in really putting them back into social causes, and putting them back towards, helping people in need. I think is going to be huge. And something else, obviously, inclusivity is also another important factor, that needs to be considered, in this industry. From the get-go, is just being inclusive and ensuring that, there is a lot of access, and, kind of limiting the, potential infighting that may occur between different viewpoints or different ways of going about things, whether we go through, legalization or decriminalization, and not having the two factions fight each other, but having the two factions actually support each other, because both are great approaches, and proving either or both is a game changer, and it should be appreciated and supported.
You're right. I think, as long as we understand that we're all on the same team, we want more progressive policy that's at the very least not diametrically opposed to the current state of science and research, around these compounds, but for just drug policy at large. I think the psychedelic medicine is a very and the mental health crisis and the opiate epidemic, the intersection of all these things, is making it so important for us to look at our policies around drugs and mental health around the world, because it's a really important time for that. I'm curious, as someone that's in this industry and at the forefront of this industry, what are some things that you're really excited about in the near future, and maybe not in so near future, but just looking ahead, what are you really excited to see, and what do you hope to see as the psychedelic renaissance kind of continues to amplify forth?
Yeah, well, the thing I'm most excited about, I think right now, very much upcoming, is this Oregon vote. I think, it's going to be historic to legalize entheogens in an entire state. I mean, that's going to be the shining star, the way to do it across the whole world. And, if successful, we'll allow more states to do it, more governments to do it. So I think that could be really huge. And, I hope the citizens of Oregon all approve it, and it passes. And Tom and Sherry and their team are, have fought so hard for that. And it's really crazy how they were able to pull it off too. I mean, before the pandemic, all of these initiatives were done door to door, each person knocking on the door to get it approved. And, when the pandemic hit, it really had to change. So I'm really excited about a lot of these, the legalization initiative, decriminalization initiatives, what's happening with Theracil, with their access, here in Canada, with allowing this to patients, looking at, some of the, incredible research that is being made. I think it's, it's so exciting. I do see, Mindleap is a great platform, to allow us to expand these therapies. Just now we were talking about how, because of social distancing and COVID, I mean, a lot of these clinical trials are put on hold because, you have to be in person. And, most of the clinical trials, there's a couple dosings that are large, but everything else happens in the actual therapy, which is done, can be done through Mindleap and will be done through Mindleap. So I think it's really interesting to see how, everything's shifting, and everything's progressing so fast. I mean, I think it feels like yesterday when Denver first decriminalized, and, the only companies that were, in the space that were known was, Compass Pathways, USONA, and what we had with Atai. And then now there's you can't even keep track of how many companies, and we've had hundreds of millions of dollars go into the industry, and so many new, types of treatments that are being developed. I mean, it's incredible how fast everything's moving. And, I think the future is really bright for psychedelics.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think it's really cool because the digital platform that you guys offer and that you've developed, you'll be able to work with so many different players in the psychedelic space. Today, Numinous announced that they finished their first legal harvest of psilocybin-containing mushrooms, and Dennis McKenna had a really interesting quote talking about how, while there is a need for synthetic psilocybin for clinical trials, a lot of people still demand the natural product, and it's interesting from where you're positioned, because regardless of what direction that might go, or if it goes in both directions, people will still need the digital platform and the data analytics and that whole backbone to the therapy, to be able to just analyze and monitor and really optimize the entire process. So it's cool to be in the position you're in because you really can work with everybody. So it'd be cool to just learn a little bit more about your intention to partner with different people in the industry and what that might look like,
Yeah, for sure. What we're really thinking about, moving forward with is, just having Mindleap be, a great option for, aftercare. What do you do after the psychedelic experience? So the way our partner program's set up is we have, we share the actual platform fee that is charged with our partners. And so the different psychedelic clinics are incentivized to be able to, use Mindleap. And Mindleap is very unique where, other companies, you have to pay per month in order to be, using the technology. Ours is free. So it's very similar to the way that Uber is set up, where, drivers drive, the passengers ride, and then, Uber provides the conduit, which is the technology to be able to book it. So that's really where we play. And, we're really focused on innovating and, expanding the types of treatments that are available on Mindleap. We're adding new specialists every day. And it's really exciting to see kind of these relationships with, with their Mindleap specialists, where, I work with my Mindleap specialist and, it's been incredible. And I've made, a lot of big changes in my life, because of that. And, it's really cool to be able to kind of share that. And, recently I was having a friend, super excited about psychedelics, never done it before, was super scared. He went and did it on his own. And it kind of, obviously I coached him on what to do because I've done psychedelics a lot, but now he's been working with a specialist and, it's been like life changing. I'm seeing him become, much happier and take charge of his life. And, we've been getting a lot of great testimonials, from others, that are doing the same, using Mindleap. And to me, that's music to my ears, because a year ago Mindleap was just an idea, and then now people are actually like using it to change their lives, and it's providing opportunities to different practitioners to grow the practice and find new clients, and it's really cool.
That is really cool. I think it's also really cool that despite the fact that a lot of these compounds are still scheduled drugs and they're really restrictive. You're right. Like the way that you're positioned in this market, while we of course hope for legislation to become more relaxed, and that's going to be inevitable, it seems, people can take advantage of your platform and the benefits that you have to offer right away. They can take advantage of that today. And I think that's really powerful, because there is this uncertainty that people have when it comes to investing and it comes to just things in this space. Like, oh, well, mushrooms are still illegal, so how can I get involved? Or how can I, support the movement at large? Or, how are people maneuvering in this space, period? And it's cool to see the innovation that people have used, and that you guys are exhibiting through your platform to kind of work around that and work through that and provide people with the resources that they need,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when we were starting everything up, I was wondering, I'm like, how big is the underground market? Like, how many people are doing this? And the only data that was available was from 10 years ago. And it was from the National Institute of Mental Health. And it showed that there was 30 million lifetime users of psychedelics. So about like 10% of the US population 10 years ago. I wonder what it is today, but I'm sure it's pretty high. And a lot of the times you bad trips happen, but the thing is, bad trips can become great changes. If you go through it, and a lot of the times, I've had some bad trips, and you're crying, you're going through your trauma, but it's really like, what do you do afterwards? How do you change that? And a lot of the times, if you don't have access to the support. And I experienced that myself when I came back from the Netherlands. You know, it was really hard to find someone. And a lot of the conventional mental health professionals are, you know, still, you know, psychedelics are still stigmatized. You know, just because there's a bunch of great articles and coverage doesn't mean that, you know, the stigma is not there. And I feel like, you know, it's obviously the pandemic has accelerated the acceptance of this, especially because the pandemic's accelerated the mental health crisis. But, you know, I think, you know, many individuals want to be able to, you know, have this mind-altering experience without impairing their lives and putting themselves at risk. And, you know, I think having more access to support and professionals that are experienced, vetted, and know what they're doing, I think can really help, you know, many people in the industry as a whole from having, you know, removing the stigma and coming into the norm.
That's really cool, and I completely agree that, you know, the pandemic has catalyzed, you know, so many things and has accelerated, you're right, the mental health crisis. And so as a result, it's accelerated the social acceptance and destigmatization of psychedelic medicine, you know. I think it's also interesting, and I think it'd be interesting if we talked about so, Nikolai, it'd be really interesting to get your insight on where you think the industry is headed over the next few years. You know, maybe next 3 to 5 years. What are some of the things you look forward to seeing happening, and where do you think, you know, the industry is just headed?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the broader acceptance of psychedelics, you know, from government institutions and regulators, you know, is coming. It's coming faster than we can expect. But I think, you know, 5 years from now, what I think is going to be happening is we're going to be having, you know, these kind of psychedelic centers that are, you know, not a conventional type of you know, clinic as we've seen. You know, it's very similar to, I think what Field Trip is doing with theirs is incredible, and what Synthesis is doing with theirs is incredible. And, you know, I can see these being, you know, all over, you know, a few in every city. And I can see, you know, the treatment of various mental health conditions, you know, with MAPS and their MDMA for PTSD. I mean, that is getting very close to getting approved, and Compass Pathways and their, you know, huge clinical trial that's happening, and, you know, some of the other, you know, incredible treatments, you know, Johns Hopkins and what they're doing. And I think, you know, it will disrupt, you know, the whole antidepressant market, you know, and we're talking about like a very, you know, enormous market with, you know, millions of people using these types of drugs. And I feel that, you know, it will likely replace and remove a lot of these drugs. It just is very interesting, you know, what's going to happen with big pharma, you know, when this does happen. And you know, I feel that, you know, a lot of people, you know, millions of people will have access to this type of treatment. And I feel like, you know, it's going to be a game changer to what we see in how we act in our society, how we act with each other, how we put, you know, family and friends and purpose, you know, ahead of materialistic pursuits. And I think, you know, that's also another thing that the pandemic has done. I mean, our society was really moving fast towards, you know, materialism and everybody trying to be an influencer and flashing their, you know, expensive things, to now we're all isolated at home, and, you know, no one knows you got Gucci flip-flops and diamond rings, you know, when you're at home. And those things really begin to not matter as much, where you actually look at, you know, what is really meaningful to you. And I think, you know, a lot of things that come about with psychedelics is, you know, this change in the ego dissolution and being part, you know, of the greater whole. Technology is moving at a incredible rate. I think 5 years from now we will be incorporating virtual reality with psychedelic experiences. Setting are so important to each experience and to the treatment as a whole. And virtual reality allows you to fully control that part, as well as gather really interesting data into eye movement, heart rate, brain waves, and really help tune the actual treatment and actually change the setting around you. Additionally, there's some really interesting technologies that are utilizing passive phone data collection. They're able to actually right now diagnose different conditions. 5 years from now, using AI, it will be so calibrated that some of the futurists that I'm talking to and some of the scientists that are working on this are predictive diagnosis will be done through the phone and through each individual's actions versus through a mental health professional. So it's a lot of innovation, a lot of amazing things happening. I feel that just the effectiveness of treatments and the technology that's being developed is just going to really transform the well-being of tens of millions of people.
That's so fascinating, the intersection of cutting edge technology and psychedelic medicine, and where that's leading to in the future. I didn't really consider how you can really have good control over set and setting using something like virtual reality, and integrating that into the psychedelic experience. That's a really fascinating insight. You talked about the centers that would be available, and I'm trying to imagine what that would look like. Maybe you can speak a little bit more to that. I know right now there are things like ketamine clinics, and now Field Trip has the guided psychotherapist assisted ketamine sessions that they have. I know they have a New York clinic and they have some in Canada. Do you think that there will be separate centers, maybe an MDMA one for people with PTSD, and then they'll still have the ketamine ones, the psilocybin will be separate? Do you think there'll be multidisciplinary centers where different treatments, maybe the treatment's personalized depending on the patient and they have the capability to offer all of them, or maybe some of them? What do you think that landscape's going to look like as it unfolds?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be multidisciplinary. And I think it will also involve some non-psychedelic, uses as well. Mm-hmm. Breath work is incredible at helping you get to these types of states. And I feel that, there's also a lot of a big need for more community, within us, especially if you're, downtown and in the concrete jungle. As we see, the pandemic and the virtual workforce and people, going different places, I think, seeing the ability to, connect like-minded people going through the same struggle and heal together can create, a more powerful treatment. So just like we have, how many yoga centers are in each city, there's, a ton of yoga centers. I feel like, we'll have psychedelic centers in a similar manner, as long as, the industry doesn't become monopolistic and it does allow, different practitioners, to be able to offer it, maybe at their center or at their office. It is something that, when done right and they're following the treatment protocol, each individual practitioner, might have it, at their office. So I think it's going to be, widely adopted, and, the deployment of it, there's going to be various different methods to deploy it. And I feel like, there's going to be a lot of innovative companies that, create a great experience for each person. And that's what I experienced, when I went to the Netherlands. It was a great, 3-4 day experience where, the psychedelics were obviously the major focal point, but there was also many other things that were done, prior to that and then also afterwards. And it's really developing that relationship, with each individual and being a part of their long-term healing, And that's what, us at Mindleap hope is that, it's our platform that's used, for the longer term healing, where, you just feeling down, okay, you can go book a 20-minute session, or you're having a little crisis, go ahead, go on the app, and you can find that practitioner that helped you with that psychedelic experience and knows you've built that relationship over a long period of time, to allow yourself to have someone who cares and to have someone who supports you. Because a lot of the times, it's really hard to burden your friends and your family, and many of us are really caring to do so. And sometimes, there's a stigma associated with a mental health condition and with all the things that you're doing. And I feel like talking, to someone who cares, who understands psychology and human behavior, and having them be your person for support, I think is just so huge. And that's what I love about, Mindleap. And that's what I use it for myself. I work with a wellness coach, and we do weekly breathwork sessions, and then I'm also working with another professional on there that's helped me actually quit smoking, which has been really cool because as you can tell by my name, Nikolai, Vassev, Eastern Europeans are known for their smoking, and that's where I picked it up. But it's been very helpful to work with an addiction expert on Mindleap to be able to stop it. It's been a while now, so I'm really excited about that. So sorry for the ramble there.
No, that's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. And quitting smoking is no easy task, So I definitely admire you for that. That's pretty cool. And, one of the landmark trials Hopkins conducted using psilocybin was actually on smokers, and they had really, really good success rates in facilitating them to be able to quit smoking. So it's really fascinating to see all of the clinical research that has been coming out about psychedelic medicine, but also to hear the stories, to hear the stories from the people whose lives have been impacted and transformed so powerfully with this medicine. And I think that's just been really amazing. I appreciate you sharing, your experience with that. For the people, as this industry continues to evolve, for the people that want to get involved today, I can ask this question from a couple of different standpoints. From an investor level, what is your advice to people that want to get involved in this exciting industry? What do you caution them to be wary of? Obviously there's somewhat of a rush right now that's being, a lot of parallels are being drawn to the cannabis industry in that respect. So what do you advise people who are looking to contribute to this space and get involved on the financial and investor level?
Yeah, for sure. From an investment perspective, I think it's really important to be diversified, and to also just be very weary and careful. I follow this Twitter account. It's called Psychedelic Bullshit Hunter. And it's opened my eyes to like all the shadiness that's happening. And for investors, I'd encourage them to check it out because some of the stuff is just egregious. But I think that the thing that I've learned from some of the mentors and some of the investors that invested in Mindleap, it's really about looking at the team. And the caliber of the team, because anybody can pull up a press release saying we plan to do something, in the future, and, they copied it off somebody else, or just kind of chasing the sector. But you just have to look at how legitimate the actual scientists are and the strategy behind it, because I think definitely. Staying strong and buying something long term and holding it for 4 or 5 years is the way to go, and not really trying to kind of rush and get rich quick and be a stock trader. I think if you believe in the people behind the company, they have the right intentions, the right scientific pedigree, the right intellectual property. I think that's what really is going to make a difference from an investment perspective. And just like, all industries, there's typically leaders, so there will be the leading organizations. So those are the ones where, you want to own their stock. But it's a situation where sometimes things become egregiously overvalued. So I would say, if you do feel like that is the case, it's always important to, get out of that position and invest in something else. But, the most important thing is, invest in something only if you are willing to hold that investment and you believe in it in the long term. I saw on Twitter recently, it was showing, people are investing just because of the ticker name. They're like, well, this is a really good ticker. It's like, well, a lot of companies are just PowerPoint companies and aren't pulling out,
right.
real results. And with my investments in psychedelics, I have a handful of investments, but I've been holding those investments for a long time. And many of those investments are also private and won't be public for a very long time, but that's okay, and I'm not rushing, to capture the gains. I've been waiting for a long time. And, there was one company where, I bought it right when it IPO'd, and, I haven't even, looked at it. I'm like, I'm holding this one for a long time because it's, extremely undervalued even now. And, I'm up 182%, with another one, I was up 300%. And it's just because, I'm not going to sell it. I believe in those companies. They are doing the right thing. And I think that's the way to look at it is, we're right at the first inning. There's a lot more game to play. But if you choose the wrong player or the wrong team, let's say, or maybe you go all in on one, but you miss out on the others, I'd say, cross it off across maybe 5 different companies that you believe in. And then, set it, obviously watch what they're doing and make the right decision. But I think it's really important to not get lost in the hype. There's a lot of people hyping things and not doing it for the right reason. So, it's doing your homework is more important than ever, I'd say now, especially with the amount of companies that are now public and investors can gain access to.
Yeah, it's definitely a really dynamic space. I think that's some really good advice that you have given to our audience. And with the lion's share of the capital in drug development right now, it's totally rational for people to be playing a long-term game, because even with the breakthrough therapy status that some of these drugs have gotten by the FDA, for example, and the expedited clinical trials, we're still looking at a long-term play, and it's wise to put your money in causes and companies that you believe in long-term, because we're really looking at, disrupting an entire industry, multiple industries, mental health, general wellness, with things like medicinal mushrooms and microdosing. It really extends beyond the clinic too. And I think that was an interesting thing we kind of touched on earlier, was there's not really I don't like the term recreational when it comes to psychedelic medicine. I think the term is more psychospiritual growth. I think it has a lot of powerful applications for mental illness, but we're also obviously seeing it have a lot of benefits just for everybody that wants to seek some sort of personal development and personal insight from them, So I would love if you, as we're kind of closing our discussion here, how do you see that element kind of fitting into the picture, where people maybe who aren't using it for depression but want to use it just for gaining more insight to themselves? Do you think they'll be able to do that in the context of the clinics that we talked about? Do you think that's better left for a retreat type setting, or for people to maybe explore on their own? How do you see Mindleap playing into that as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with the decriminalization efforts happening, it's people won't really be in a position where they won't be allowed to do so. So I do see there's so many, underground microdosing companies right now, that are selling those products for people that want to have that. And there's so many, underground guides. So, psychedelics have been in use, for thousands of years, and it's not going to change. But the thing is, people that have certain conditions should not be using psychedelics. And I think it's really dangerous, to be doing so. So I do feel like, the people that do have mental health problems, very soon, will have better treatments that are derived from psychedelics. And then the people that want to have, more of like a personal transformation experience, in a way to, kind of recharge their lives, and, they really don't have any sort of condition, these have been used for thousands of years. And I feel like, with what we're having with the decriminalization movement, access will only increase. And I feel like what's important is increasing the access to education and increasing the access to mental health professionals to help guide and support people, is what's really key. And another piece is like, the training of them. There's 2 million mental health professionals around the world. And, once MAPS and Compass Pathways and their treatments launch, I mean, it's very challenging to train everybody to properly do so. And it's really amazing to see companies, that are providing these more practitioner based training programs. Companies like Psychedelics Today in their training program is incredible. We have, a ton of people on our platform that have been trained by them, specifically for psychedelics. And I feel like, as we get more trained professionals, deregulation, legalization of different treatments, it will become, something that is, more widespread, and more people, will have tried it. And, this reminds me a lot of the way that cannabis was. When my family first came to Canada, we're super against cannabis. And, I tried it, when I was a teenager and everything, in high school, and my mom was so against it. And when this whole legalization thing happened and she read it, oh, there's all these positives about it, she asked me, she's like, hey, where do I get some? And it's like converting my mom from like, this will kill you, this is so bad for you, to how do I get some, was a long-term process. It took a long time, and it wasn't even me, it was, society.
Right.
So you'll have that same moment with psychedelics where people are going to, word of mouth and the media and overall, regulations changing. We'll have that same moment where, it's going to be a common thing. Just like cannabis became in Canada. I mean, there's a lot of, there's obviously the government dispensaries and all this stuff, but, there's also a lot of people that grow their own plants, in their own house. So I don't know how all that going to go in terms of, regulation and everything. That's not my forte, and there's incredible people, planning that out, and working on that. But, I just have a feeling it will become a very commonplace type of treatment, and a commonplace experience that people will incorporate into their lives, whether it's microdosing or macrodosing, working on your own, or working with a specialist, or going to a clinic. There's so many different ways, and I think it's just important to ensure that you're safe, ensure that you have the right support, and that we can heal our collective consciousness and move forward as a society.
Yeah, no, that's a really powerful message. Since you guys have a digital platform, I think one of the things would be interesting for you to comment on is digital privacy. How are you helping ensure that the people that use the app, or the team at Mindleap, that all that data stays safe, especially in today's day and age, where I'm sure that's a concern of many people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, data security is super important. So there is the Electronic Protected Health Information Act, and that's what HIPAA essentially gives you guidelines as to how to best, collect, store, and authorize access to this electronic health records. So this is what we've been following. We've been working with one of the top compliance firms in the industry. Put together a very strong plan. We've also, made a commitment and made it clear that we will never sell or license data to pharmaceutical companies. We'll never sell or license data to marketing companies or, manipulate data in any way. So we've from the get-go been extremely clear, open, and transparent, as to our policies on what data we collect and what data is used. And, the only times that, data is shared is when a user actually authorizes access to that data to their specialist. And the only other times where data can be accessed is when all personal identifiable information is actually removed, and it's the general data set. We have several neuroscientists in psychedelics at Macquarie University and Imperial College that we've been working with, and we really want to help contribute to open science and help some of these kind of research findings with the anonymized data to be able to kind of advance mental health in productive and ethical ways, and then allow a greater understanding of the outcomes that occur after a psychedelic experience.
That's really cool. I wanted to ask you, I was watching the Psychedelic Capital presentation of eHave the other day, and I think it was a founder, maybe the CEO, he was talking about how there might be an opportunity, or they're working on presenting one at least, for consumers or patients to be able to sell this data, maybe to pharmaceutical companies or marketing companies. Because right now, either it's, ideally it's protected like you talk about, but in the past people definitely use this data at the without benefiting the consumer, when really we're the ones that own this data. So do you see there being the possibility of patients to maybe monetize on their data if they choose to?
With other platforms, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If eHave wants to sell their customers' data, for sure, and their customers approve that, we're not about that. We're about solutions to problems. And I feel, I want everybody to feel comfortable when they use Mindleap, that they can share their deepest secrets and share their problems. It's a tricky place to go, and it's something that, me as an individual, obviously working for a cybersecurity company for years, or also working for a data analytics company, like, I know how important this information is, and I myself would not be willing to use a platform where, they're even contemplating selling my data before their platform's even launched. And I've seen data used for the wrong reasons, and it's I'll tell you a story, actually. Do we have more time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll tell you. It's a crazy story.
Okay.
So there was I was covering Michigan, and we're doing like data visualization. And so essentially, like, we take like large amounts of data, we'd have what are the questions we're trying to answer, and then we'd analyze them. So I get a call from a company, and they're a platinum, they store platinum. So they have warehouses around the world that they store platinum. And they said, hey, we're trying to analyze the global platinum supply and demand, so we know when we store platinum and when we sell our platinum. I was like, oh, cool, this sounds interesting. Yeah, let's do it. So I got the data scientists, we started working on it. And then when they were going to pay, we're like doing some background, and we found out that this platinum warehouse company with warehouses around the world was owned by one of the top 3 investment banks in the United States. I can't say who, obviously. Wow. But what happened was a year later, I saw that there was a big thing in the news that this investment bank was manipulating global platinum prices using the information. of this
Whoa.
app that we built. And we didn't even know, right? We were just like, oh, this is you guys, you have this warehouse. Okay, cool, we'll do it. And then they took the data and they manipulated global platinum prices, and a bunch of people went to jail. And for me, that was like mind opening. I was like, holy moly, like look at how data can be used in a really bad way. And the only way that data is used on Mindleap is to help each individual better know themselves, reflect on their day, improve their mental health, and then to share it with their mental health professional if they want. So that's as far as we're going. You know, this Cambridge Analytica stuff and 23andMe selling genetics data, you know, that's a different business model. Our business model is about helping people heal and giving them access to support. And it's just going to stay that way as long as I'm here.
Amazing, man. That's a really noble mission, and I'm glad that you're staying really dedicated to that. I love to give my guests, you know, the last word as we kind of turn the corner on our conversation and come to an end. So any final thoughts that you have to share with our audience? I'd love if you know, you can share that now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I encourage everybody to go in the App Store, download our app, start tracking your mental health. And, you know, whenever you're ready to work with a you know, professional experienced integration specialist, you know, go ahead and book your session. For any practitioners that would like to join the platform, you can apply on our website. It's mindleap.health. And you go through the process, speak with our team, you know, see if you're the right fit. And it's free to be on Mindleap, and it's just something supplemental to your current practice. So if you want to start seeing some more clients specifically for psychedelics, you know, build your profile, set your prices, set your calendar, and, you know, Mindleap will just notify you when you got a new session. So it's really cool way to, you know, expand your practice and go into psychedelics further. And then, you know, for others that are looking for that personal healing, you know, this is our version 1. You know, we're working on improving it, and, you know, by early next year, it's going to have some really incredible digital programs and advanced analytics. We're working on how to, you know, combine wearables as well. So it's really exciting. And, you know, I'm very thankful to be on this podcast and share our story, and really appreciate you and the Microdose team for having us be on.
Oh, thank you so much. We're really grateful to have you, and it's been a real honor and a pleasure collaborating with you. It was really awesome to see your presentation at our last Psychedelic Capital, and you always have really great insights to share with us. So thank you so much, Nikolai. I really appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to the next conversation we have as usual, you know?
Thanks for joining the PsyFi series, brought to you by Microdose and the Conscious Fund. Visit our website at www.microdose.buzz.